Hello, friends. In the context of world history, particularly 1920s, we find a term called Locarno honeymoon. So, what is this Locarno honeymoon? We are going to discuss this in this video. Locarno honeymoon, this term, as I indicated, it is related to development of 1920s. If I can explain it properly, the reconciliation between France and Germany was referred to as Locarno honeymoon. I hope you have some idea about the background of this 1920s in the context of world history. We are actually referring to a period after World War I. And you all know that the World War I was basically a clash, right, between, you can say, interest of France and Germany. And this Locarno honeymoon after the World War I is considered as Strassmann's greatest success. Who was this Strassmann? Who was this Gustav Strassmann? He was the foreign minister of Germany, right? He was a great leader of that republic, what you call Weimar Republic. So, when we say Locarno honeymoon, it is actually a reconciliation between France and Germany when after First World War. So, why this reconciliation between France and Germany? Because you all know that after World War I, a treaty was imposed on Germany, Treaty of Versailles, and it was very insulting to Germany, right? So, why this reconciliation? And whether this reconciliation was successful, we have to analyze this for our world history. Try to understand the context, background of this so-called honeymoon, what we call Locarno honeymoon. I hope you are familiar with Locarno. Locarno is a place in Switzerland. So what is the context of this Locarno honeymoon? Context is international relation between the two world wars. And you all know that the post-war politics tried to maintain international peace. I hope you all know how after First World War there was Wilson's 14 points. And this became the basis of what we call Paris Peace Conference. So there was a reasonable hope of world peace. Optimism rose to new heights. World leaders, particularly European leaders and American president, they hoped passionately that the peace would be perpetual. And in this context, a series of agreements signed in Locarno, whereby Germany, France, Belgium, Great Britain, Italy mutually guaranteed peace in Western Europe. And try to understand what they believed. They believed the gate to lasting peace was at hand. So this hope of world peace, this optimism is termed as Locarno spirit. There were attempts made to improve international relations. Why? For peace. The League of Nations was formed to settle a number of international disputes and problems. And you all know that the League of Nations was the brainchild of Woodrow Wilson. The Washington conferences to try to improve the relation between the USA and Japan was also one very important initiative. Then there was Genoa Conference, which tried to solve the problem of France and German hostility. And then American loan, American pumping of funds, what you call the Dawes Plan. These all attempts were made to improve international relations. So I hope you are getting the idea. So after the First World War, there was a new spirit, what we are calling it, Locarno spirit. And what actually they were trying to do? They were trying to, you can say, develop a better relationship between Germany and France. We are calling it Locarno honeymoon. But what was the impact of this Locarno so-called spirit? Initially, some positive result. For example, in September 1926, Strassmann and the French Foreign Minister Brind, they reached an agreement on the withdrawal of French troops from Rhineland. So some positive development. In the spirit of Locarno, Germany was invited to join League of Nations in 1926. I repeat, Germany was invited to join League of Nations in 1926. And then, very important, what we call the Kellogg-Brind Pact, 1928. Agreeing to renounce war as an instrument of national policy. Very important, remember it, the Kellogg-Brind Pact was the result of what we call Locarno spirit. And then, in 1929, what you call Young Plan, an American banker decided to reduce reparations. And disarmament began, the World Disarmament Conference, 1932-33. So, Locarno spirit was, in a sense, successful. They tried to create a new atmosphere. But you have to remember this, that the Germany was reconstituted as a democratic republic, but it was also forced to accept the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. And as you all know, the terms of the Treaty of Versailles was insulting, which actually created the background of authoritarian state in Germany also. So what is the reality of this Locarno honeymoon? Most of the historians believe that this Locarno spirit proved an illusion. I said the Locarno spirit proved an illusion. There was no real progress made. And in March 1936, Germany sent troops into Rhineland, and France regarded this move as a flagrant violation of Locarno spirit. Remember this, Hitler in 1936 sent his troops into the demilitarized Rhineland, which was considered as a violation of Locarno spirit, which led to a chain reaction. You all know, aggression started. All the old hostilities and suspicions surfaced again. And then there was a rise of three aggressive powers. Rise of Hitler, rise of extreme nationalism, and they all started committing acts of violence. They started violating international agreements, which finally led to what? World War II. So, this Locarno spirit, this Locarno honeymoon was only partially successful. It could not bring peace. Right? There was no perpetual peace. And in the end, the world was plunged into total war. So I hope now you're familiar with an important term in world history, what is called Locarno honeymoon. Thanks a lot.